This is a fictional story inspired by real emotions and human experiences. The phone vibrated softly against the marble kitchen counter, its screen lighting up the dark room. She didn't reach for it right away. Instead, she stared at the reflection in the microwave door. Hair perfectly styled, makeup untouched, smile frozen in a shape she no longer recognized as her own. Somewhere upstairs, the shower was running. Her husband was home. Another vibration. She swallowed hard, finally turning the phone face down, as if that alone could erase what was inside it. The house was immaculate, curated down to the last neutral-toned pillow. Every corner had been photographed, filtered, admired by millions. From the outside, it was the definition of a perfect marriage. But perfection is fragile, and secrets have weight. She leaned back against the counter, fingers gripping the edge as memories blurred together. Comments, messages, moments she had convinced herself didn't matter. The silence felt louder than any argument they had never had. She wondered how long love could survive when it was built alongside an audience that only saw what she chose to show. Upstairs, the water shut off. Her heart began to race. What would you do if one secret threatened everything you had built? How would you react if the life everyone envied was quietly falling apart behind closed doors? If this happened to you, what would your first words be? Stay until the end of this story. There will be questions waiting for you. She waited until she heard the bedroom door close before she picked up the phone again. The screen was still warm, as if it had been impatient too. No new notifications. That almost made it worse. Downstairs, the kitchen smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and something burnt she'd forgotten in the oven earlier. She moved automatically, wiping an already spotless counter, straightening a chair that hadn't been touched. These small rituals kept her steady, or at least distracted. Upstairs, he was getting dressed. She could picture it without looking. The casual confidence, the quiet hum he made without realizing it. The same man who had once laughed with her on this very floor, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes and cheap takeout, dreaming out loud about a life that felt impossibly far away back then. Now they had that life. And an audience. Her phone buzzed again. This time she didn't flip it over. She read the name, then the message preview, and felt a sharp, familiar twist in her chest. It wasn't explicit. It never was. That was the danger of it. Everything lived in the gray space she had convinced herself was harmless. She locked the phone and slipped it into her pocket, just as he walked into the kitchen. "Hey," he said easily, leaning in to kiss her cheek. "You okay? You look tired." "I didn't sleep well," she replied, the words practiced enough to sound natural. He nodded, already reaching for a mug. "Long day tomorrow. I've got an early meeting." Of course he did. He always did. Structure, routines, plans. That was him. She had built her world around his steadiness, even as hers became increasingly public, performative. Every smile she shared online felt easier than the one she was holding now. After he left the room, she exhaled slowly, shoulders dropping. She hated how easily she could lie. Or maybe she hated that she didn't know when it had started feeling necessary. Later, alone in their bedroom, she opened her laptop. The familiar glow of her feed filled the screen. Photos from last week's trip. A carefully staged laugh. A caption about gratitude, love, balance. Thousands of comments followed. Heart emojis, compliments, strangers telling her how lucky her husband was. If only they knew how close she was to losing him. She clicked through drafts she hadn't posted yet. Each one more polished than the last. Each one further from the truth. Somewhere along the way, sharing had stopped being about connection and started being about control. Her phone vibrated again. This time she didn't read it. She placed it face down on the nightstand and stared at the ceiling, wondering when a secret stopped being small. Wondering whether silence was protecting her marriage or quietly poisoning it. The next morning unfolded like every other, which somehow made it harder. Sunlight filtered through the sheer curtains, soft and flattering, the kind she loved for photos. She lay still for a moment, listening to him move around the house, the familiar rhythm of drawers opening and closing, the coffee maker clicking on. Normal, safe, predictable. She reached for her phone before she was fully awake. Habit, instinct, fear. A message waited for her. She didn't open it right away. Instead, she rolled onto her side and watched her husband step into the doorway, tie half knotted, sleeves rolled up. He smiled when he saw her. The same unguarded smile that had once made her feel chosen in a world that always demanded more. "Morning," he said. "I made coffee." "Thanks," she replied, forcing herself to smile back. As he leaned in to kiss her forehead, her phone vibrated again. This time, he noticed. "You're popular already today," he joked lightly. She laughed too quickly. Work never sleeps. The word work had become her shield. Influencing, content, partnerships. Things that sounded serious enough to avoid questions. He respected her career. He trusted her. That trust sat heavy in her chest as she watched him leave, the door closing softly behind him. Only then did she open the message. It was short, casual, familiar. Just checking in. Didn't hear back last night. Her fingers hovered over the screen. She told herself, again, that it wasn't what it looked like, that she hadn't crossed a line. Not really. No photos. No plans, just attention. Just words that made her feel seen in a way that had nothing to do with algorithms or engagement rates. She typed a reply, deleted it, typed again. Finally, she locked the phone and tossed it onto the bed as if distance could erase intent. Later, she set up her camera in the living room. Same angle, same lighting, same carefully curated corner of their home. She filmed herself talking about productivity, about staying grounded, about protecting what matters most. Her voice sounded confident, warm, convincing. She nailed it in one take. When she finished, she sat there longer than necessary, staring into the dark lens. She wondered how many versions of herself existed now. The one online, the one her husband believed in, and the one who felt a rush every time her phone lit up with a name that wasn't his. That afternoon, she scrolled through old photos of them together. Not the ones she posted, the real ones. Blurry, unplanned, imperfect. She remembered how simple things used to feel when love didn't need proof. By the time he came home that night, she had already decided something needed to change. She just didn't know whether she was brave enough to decide what. She thought clarity would come with sleep. It didn't. Instead, she woke up heavy, like she had been carrying something through her dreams and into the morning. Her husband was already gone. A note sat on the kitchen counter, written in his familiar, careful handwriting. "Early meeting. Call me later. Love you." The word "love you" felt louder than usual. She folded the note and slipped it into a drawer she rarely opened, one filled with old receipts and things she didn't know where else to put. It felt appropriate. By mid-morning, she was sitting at the dining table, laptop open, pretending to work while her phone rested beside her. Silent. That silence was new. She had muted the conversation the night before, telling herself it was temporary. Just space. Just time to think. But space had a way of making thoughts sharper. She found herself replaying moments she had dismissed before. The first message that made her pause. The thrill of being noticed without effort. How easily it had slipped into her routine, tucked between brand emails and content planning. She hadn't been looking for anything. That was the lie she told herself most often. Her phone lit up again. This time, it was her husband. "Miss you." Lunch later? Relief washed over her, followed quickly by guilt. She stared at the message longer than necessary before replying, "Yes." Simple. Safe. Honest. At least on the surface. At the restaurant, they sat across from each other like they always did. He talked about work, about a small frustration with a coworker, about plans for the weekend. She nodded, laughed in the right places, reached for his hand across the table. It felt real. It was real. So why did it feel fragile? Halfway through lunch, he stopped mid-sentence. "Can I ask you something?" Her stomach tightened. "Of course." "You've been distant," he said gently. No accusation, no edge. "Did I do something?" The question landed harder than she expected. She shook her head too quickly. "No, it's just a lot going on." He studied her face, searching for something. "You know you can tell me, right?" She did know. That was the problem. "I know," she said softly. They finished lunch without resolving anything. Outside, he kissed her goodbye, lingering just a second longer than usual. As he walked away, She felt the weight of a choice she kept postponing. That evening, alone again, she opened the muted conversation. The unread messages stared back at her, patient and persistent. She read them slowly, noticing how familiar the tone felt, how easy it would be to respond. Instead, she typed a message she hadn't planned. "I can't keep doing this." Her finger hovered before she sent it. Her heart raced, not with excitement but fear, of losing attention, of facing herself, of what came next. She pressed send. The phone felt heavier in her hand after that, like something had shifted or broken. She didn't know yet whether she had just saved her marriage or exposed the crack that had been there all along. The reply didn't come right away. That unsettled her more than she expected. She placed the phone on the counter and tried to focus on anything else. The hum of the refrigerator, the faint traffic outside, the dust she suddenly noticed on the bookshelf. Her mind kept drifting back to the message she had sent, replaying the exact wording, wondering if it sounded final enough, or cruel, or unclear. An hour passed, then another. By the time her husband came home, she had almost convinced herself that silence was a relief. "Hey," he said, setting his keys down. "You okay?" She nodded. "Yeah, just tired." They moved around each other easily, too easily. Years of shared space had taught them how to coexist without colliding. But that night, every glance felt loaded. Every pause stretched longer than usual. At dinner, he barely touched his food. "You sure everything's fine?" he asked again, quieter this time. She met his eyes. Really met them. There was concern there. Care. The kind that didn't demand answers but deserved them. "I've just been thinking a lot," she said. It wasn't a lie, just incomplete. After they cleaned up, he sat beside her on the couch. Not close, not far. A distance that felt intentional, even if neither of them had decided it. "You know," he said slowly, "sometimes it feels like you're somewhere else, even when you're right here." Her chest tightened. She swallowed. "I don't mean to be." "I know," he replied. "I just miss you." The words stayed with her long after he went upstairs. Later that night, her phone buzzed. A reply. "I figured this might happen. I just didn't think it would end like this." She read it once, then again. There was no anger, no pleading, just disappointment. It mirrored something she felt herself, though she couldn't tell for whom. She typed a response, then erased it. Whatever she said now would only soften something that needed to stay firm. She turned the phone off completely. In the dark, she lay beside her husband, listening to his breathing even out as sleep took him. She stared at the ceiling, aware of how close she was to the truth, and how far she still felt from saying it out loud. Some endings are quiet. That doesn't make them easier. The days that followed were quieter than she expected. No messages, no vibrations pulling her attention away. The silence felt unnatural at first, like forgetting something important at home and not realizing what it was until hours later. She told herself this was what she wanted. Her content changed subtly. Fewer smiles held too long. More neutral captions. Her audience noticed, of course. They always did. Comments appeared asking if she was okay, if something had changed. She replied with hearts and vague reassurances, careful not to invite questions she wasn't ready to answer. At home, the shift was harder to ignore. Her husband watched her more closely now, not suspicious, just attentive. Like someone trying to understand a language that suddenly sounded different. He started asking about her day again, sitting with her at night without his phone. Small things, intentional things. One evening, as they folded laundry together, he broke the silence. "Can I ask you something without it turning into a whole thing?" She paused, holding one of his shirts. "I'll try." "Are you happy?" he asked. The question was simple, devastatingly so. She opened her mouth, then closed it. The answer felt too big for the space between them. "I don't know," she said finally. He nodded, as if he'd expected that. "I just want us to be honest, even if it's uncomfortable." That night, she sat alone in the bathroom long after he'd gone to bed. She stared at herself in the mirror, stripped of filters and angles. For the first time in a long while, she didn't recognize the woman looking back at her. Not because she was lost, but because she was finally visible. She picked up her phone and scrolled to the conversation she had ended. She didn't open it. She didn't need to. That chapter felt closed, even if the consequences were still unfolding. What remained was harder. Honesty. She slipped into bed beside her husband and lay awake, rehearsing words she wasn't sure she'd ever say. Confessions weren't dramatic in real life. They were quiet, awkward, heavy. Tomorrow, she told herself. Tomorrow, she would stop hiding. From him, from herself. From the version of love that didn't require an audience. She didn't plan the conversation. That surprised her most. There was no dramatic build-up, no perfect moment where the words lined up neatly in her head. It happened on an ordinary evening, the kind they had shared hundreds of times before. The house was quiet. Dinner dishes were still drying on the counter. Nothing about the setting suggested that something important was about to change, but something already had. They sat across from each other at the kitchen table, not because they needed to talk, but because neither of them reached for the couch. She noticed how tired he looked. Not exhausted, just worn in the way people look when they care deeply and don't know where to place that care. "I need to tell you something," she said. Her voice didn't shake. That felt intentional. She didn't want this to sound like panic or guilt. She wanted it to sound like truth. He didn't interrupt. He didn't lean back or cross his arms. He just listened. She didn't offer details that would hurt more than they helped. She spoke about loneliness, about validation, about how easy it had been to blur lines without admitting they existed. She admitted that she had enjoyed the attention and hated herself for it. She admitted that she had stopped before it became something else, but not before it had already changed something inside her. When she finished, the silence returned, but it felt different this time. Not heavy, not threatening, just real. He took a long breath. "Thank you for telling me," he said quietly. That wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't resolution. It was a beginning. They didn't fix everything that night. They didn't promise grand transformations or sudden clarity. What they did promise was smaller and harder. Honesty, awareness, the willingness to be uncomfortable together instead of distant apart. In the days that followed, her life online continued. The posts, the comments, the numbers. But something fundamental had shifted. She stopped performing happiness and started allowing uncertainty to exist. Some people noticed, some unfollowed, others stayed. For the first time, she let that be okay. Her marriage didn't return to what it had been. It became something else, more fragile, but also more intentional. Less perfect, more honest. And somehow, that felt stronger. Secrets don't always explode. Sometimes they erode quietly, until the damage is undeniable. She learned that love doesn't disappear all at once. It fades in small compromises, in silences chosen too often, in truths postponed for comfort. But she also learned that choosing differently, before it's too late, can still matter. Would you have reacted the same way? What would you do in her place? Do you think she made the right decision? Before you leave, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your honest thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to vote in the poll.